Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you love what you hear today, take a second to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. Your support helps this podcast grow and helps us bring on more amazing guests who are here to inspire and empower you. So don't forget to tag us on social media when you're listening. I love to hear what's resonating with you. Today we have Brittny Tollinchi. She is a powerhouse woman, and we go into detail more about different investments. How can you use your money to work for you? Now, this is not something that her and I do for a living by any means. She is a coach. She can help you take and scale your business to another level. But we actually ended up talking about different ways of investing and how can we use the money that you have, roll it into different ways to make your money work for you. So if you find any value in this, you want to learn more information about the different ways that I have invested and plan to invest, please reach out to me. I know Brittany would love to help you through that process as well. And again, check out her podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We would love to help you however we can. Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shea Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote, and today's quote is, "When life gives you more than you can stand, kneel." So today I have Brittny Tollinchi. She is a dynamic speaker, high-performance coach, best-selling author, and inspirational podcaster known for her unwavering commitment to helping individuals make meaningful changes, uncover their inner greatness, and live authentically. So Brittny, you and I met a couple months ago, and I would tell you that you're probably one of the most authentic, exciting, bubbly person that I've probably met. You're super sweet. And I know my sister Sadie absolutely loved you. Absolutely adored you.
Gosh.
You remember her and stuff, but tell me a little bit about your business, because you've been doing this for a year and a half. Is that right?
It's a year and a half. So Shae, thank you just for having me. I so appreciate you. And yes, of course, I remember Sadie. Like, you guys were the Nebraska girls, the Nebraska table. And I just remember coming over to you guys and, hey, and that was that. So I loved your energy too. And it takes one to know one. So yeah, good to be here.
Nebraska. We have a big family. We're always doing all sorts of things. So I'm surprised she didn't invite you to Nebraska to come to our 4th of July stuff.
Yet, maybe next year. Okay. So a little bit about my business, a little bit about my journey. My story, the short of the long is I held this high profile corporate leadership careers, was winning awards for my leadership on a global scale within a $5.6 billion international organization. And I had this moment where I was driving from Denver to Kansas City. So that's 600 miles, an 8-hour drive. And girl, I cried the whole time. And I think what happened was it was this emotional release I didn't even know I needed, because it was the first time since becoming a wife, since becoming a mom of 2 little, since getting the promotion, since checking all of these like high achiever boxes. It was the first time that I was alone with just me and my thoughts for 8 hours. And it is a long time.
I literally got goosebumps, because that's a lot.
That's a long time. So all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I just keep asking myself, what is this all for? And it wasn't because I was miserable. It wasn't because I was burnt out, or so I didn't think I was. It was just like, I'm doing all of these things, and what is this all for? Are we really just meant to wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat? Like, there's got to be more. And I will tell you, the more that I like demanded an answer to that question, the more I started having this stirring and this wrestling and this whisper in my heart start to boil up. And I just knew that I had to get out of the box. That was the message that was coming through for me, that I was meant to have a bigger impact. I was meant to serve in a different way, that I had done what I was supposed to do in corporate, and I was supposed to get out of the box. And I said, yeah, hard pass. No, thanks. I like the box. Box has been serving me really well. I know the rules of the box. Like, I'm going to stay in the box, but maybe I'll just set better boundaries. Or maybe I'll just work on my communication, or maybe I'll just speak up more. And so over a year and a half, so it took me a year and a half from that drive to the day I actually said I quit. Over a year and a half, I spent that time going inward. I spent that time learning more about myself than I ever thought. I didn't know I even needed to learn. I let go of so many things. I never realized how hard it was going to be to quit, like, really the bondage of my comfort is what it was. So I had to learn to quit the bondage of my comfort. And that included things like quit toxic relationships, quit things no longer serving me. And so finally got to a point with the job that I said, I quit. I had no plan, which is not recommended. Okay. Hear me loud and clear on the walking away from a good, stable job without a plan is not recommended. However, for me and my story, I knew that I had to close one chapter to make space for what was meant for me to find me. And 1000% it did. 30 days after leaving corporate, I get a book deal that I didn't ask for. I just happened to talk to a publisher who was like, you got to tell your story. A few months after that, I launched a podcast. Now we're a year in with 70 episodes. A few months after that, I'm sharing my story from stages. November, the book goes bestseller. And then we get into January when it's okay. 2024 was like the chapter of, hey, all these impossible things become possible. Now 2025 is the chapter of, now you get to serve and you get to lead in this entrepreneurial space too. So now I'm helping other people build their purpose-driven businesses. And it's been such a journey. So there you go. That was probably more than you wanted, but there you go. Those are the last couple of years.
That's amazing. So when you were, okay, so you said you did the deep work. You went inner. How did you do that? Because you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, I really found out who I was and blah, 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 and all those things. But how did you do that? How did you dive deep? And did you go counseling? What did that look like for you to find out more about who you are? Because I think that's what everybody struggles with.
Yeah, great question. So I say two things helped me go from knowing and feeling that I was called to actually being able to jump into and walk out, hey, I have to do something different with my life. And the first one is curiosity. So I got curious. And I think that for everybody, that looks different. For me, that looked like, instead of logging on at 6:30 in the morning, which no one was asking me to do, that was just the normal high achiever tendency, right? So instead of logging on at 6:30 in the morning, I would spend 15 minutes just journaling, just checking in with myself. It eventually turned into reading my Bible, and it was 15 minutes. And I'd ask this question. So this, I think, is a great question to start with. Where am I at? And that was actually something that I learned earlier on in my marriage, like being able to effectively communicate with my partner was just like, where are you at? Like, we have to be able to have those self-assessments of, hey, I'm excited, but I'm also really frustrated today. Or, hey, I feel really great about this meeting and this project, but then also, hey, this used to light me up and it's not lighting me up anymore. And just taking 15 minutes to just check in and give space for, where am I at? Those 15 minutes turned into half hour, turned into a little bit longer. And the more I actually got to start to know myself, getting curious, asking yourself questions. And there's a quote out there from Tony Robbins that says, ask better questions, get better answers. And so when you start asking better self-reflective questions, you get better self-answers. You can learn yourself better. And then the second thing that really helped me go from, hey, I feel called, to like, how do I actually walk this out in my life? For me, it was obedient surrender. And I think that sometimes when we think about surrender, at least when I originally thought about surrender, my brain went to like the Braveheart days, like you're on the battlefield and you're like, the weaker team is surrendering. They're retreating back from like the stronger power. But I think we're on this like battlefield of life and we're so heck bent about like fighting for our time or fighting for these promotions or fighting for these status or fighting to have more than the next person, that what we don't understand is if we were surrendering to joy, if we were surrendering to peace, if we were surrendering to our passions, what our spirits are called for, if we were surrendering to connection, like those are the type of things I would obediently surrender every single day to that. And those things hands down changed my life.
So when you say surrender, like how are you surrendering for the, because you can, because what I have found, especially over the summer months when there's no like true structure with the kids and stuff, I'm like, okay, I just need to go with the flow. And so then I've been getting up later and I'm not doing my Bible reading as much. I'm not doing my journaling. Like it drives me crazy. But when you don't, I don't know. So what does the surrender look like to you? What does that mean?
Yeah, surrender to me looks like, for instance, self-trust. Like when I know in my gut that, hey, I don't think we need to go to that birthday party today. It's better for my family to stay at home and have a game night, or it's better for my family to let's just the four of us go out and go camping. It's that self-trust of knowing, hey, if there's something stirring in my intuition, it's meant for me. Instead of, oh, everybody else is going to the party and I already told so-and-so that I would be there and blah, 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 blah. Because that's the getting caught up in the, like what we're supposed to do or who we should be, or like doing these things again to check the boxes instead of what we innately know. I do believe that. We innately know the things that are best for us. We innately, especially, oh my goodness, as mamas, we innately know the things that are best for our children. It's just a matter of, are we slowing down enough? Are we giving ourselves those 15 minutes to be like, what feels good about this today? What does not feel good about this today? What do I need? What does my family need? Asking those questions and actually listening. So I think the surrender piece is like the listening, the self-trust, for me, a big one, like I felt like in corporate, I always had the answer. I had my own hashtag. Like people would be like, give it to Tollinchi, she'll figure it out. Give it to Tollinchi. And so I think surrendering in this season for me looks like not having all the answers. Yeah. Why don't you want to come to the party? Because it just doesn't, I don't need to go to the party. And just that's enough.
Being okay. I like that you say that because in our area, club soccer and club baseball is die hard. It is wild to me. Absolutely, to me, absolutely the most insane thing in the entire world. Not only because of your children's physical, like you 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever year olds don't need to be practicing every single night for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then going and playing tournaments on the weekend. I cannot wrap my head around that. And I'm not saying this is bad. If your kids are great and they love it and you enjoy it, great. But I also do think a lot of it is checking the boxes. The parents want to say, nope, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I do think a lot of that comes down to it. And I also think that a lot of parents, like they do enjoy it, but do you really? Like you love the chaos, you love being busy, but do you really? Or are you just doing it, like you said, because you're not surrendering? For me, I'd rather be home with my 3 kids and my husband, letting them play out in the yard and do whatever kids need to do. Let them get bored and have that sense of creativity. But I do think this world is more like, hey, we need to check the boxes. Okay, we did swim lessons. Now we go to dance. Now we go to baseball. Now we go to softball. Now we go to soccer. And I'm like, I listen to these women. We have swim lessons today. My husband's there with them. But I listen to these other women like, oh, we got to do this and this later and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have so much anxiety.
Sam, no, I love that the conversation has gone here because we have the same conversations in our own home. And I know part of the self-reflection piece has been it's that like the guilt that stirs up, and you're like, if he doesn't play, I've got a 7-year-old and a 7-year-old girl, and then a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. And so with him, it's like, if he doesn't play football this summer, then he's gonna be behind, and you don't want him to be the kid who stinks on the team, because then that's not gonna. And like, we tell ourselves, like, we create these huge, and it's rooted in guilt. And when my husband and I, when we were having the conversation about, okay, let's just break this down. Why do we feel we need to, even that, like the way I was asking that question already tells you, like, shines big. Like, why do we quote unquote why do we need to have him in football this summer? And we're sitting there, okay, what are the pros? What are the cons? Why are we feeling this way? Like, when we're asking ourselves those questions, and then you start to peel back, you're like, oh snap. We are feeling social pressure, crap. We are feeling guilt, boo. We are feeling like, wait, we're not practicing our own boundaries for our family. And you're like, okay, so if this is like what the world is pressing on us, what would feel good to us? Right. What would keep the things that we want for our family and our kids, like, and ourselves? What would that look like? And then, yeah, of course there's some compromises, but the beautiful thing about choice is, like, we all get to choose the kind of life that we want to live. And right. For some of those mamas, again, there's no judgment. Some of those mamas, I'm sitting in the same, we're at gymnastics, and they're behind me, and they're talking about all of the ways they're so busy and they never see their spouses. And hey, but at least their kid is excelling in 17 things, and that they're doing it for some reason. I'm sure at some level it does bring them joy. Right. And you got to assume that's the reason that they're signing up for the torture, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I was at the eye doctor yesterday, and we somehow got on that conversation between the doctor and his nurse lady, and they were talking about, like, how nowadays that if you don't put your kids into these club sports, they're likely not going to play in high school. So then part of you is that guilt comes in. Is, shoot, like, I want him to play, I want him to do all these things, but he doesn't want to do all these games and these practices every night. And people may think of that as like lazy, but as an 8-year-old, I wouldn't want to. Like, that's a lot. So then I had that little bit of guilt. I'm like, I want him to play, but what if he doesn't want to play by that time? You know what I mean? And I think kids just eventually get burnt out. And then the doctor was talking about when his kids were younger, his daughter was in like traveling dance, and then his son was in club soccer, and him and his wife were always going in separate directions. He's like, but we had fun. I'm like, but did you? Like, was that really fun? Because in all reality, I do want to spend time with my significant other. I do want to create that bond. I do want to be together as a family. I don't want to have to go this direction and that direction with my husband. And I don't want to have to make a decision between one child or the other. Yeah. I had to make that once or twice this year for softball and baseball because we had a lot of rain, and games got rescheduled. And it made me feel guilty. Oh, I'm not going to be able to make it to my daughter's game because I have Kaysen's game. And like, I don't want that to be a constant. And so kind of like you said, we have to surrender and realize I don't want that. I don't. And it would cause so much stress and anxiety on top of like my work anyway. Why force myself? Why force myself to do those things to keep up with the Joneses is really the way I think of it as.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, like I said, I agree that there is that. I think that some of that, like keeping up with the Joneses, is part of the pressure that we feel. And also to those making the decision to have their kid in 100 different things, like mad props to them. Like mad props for making that choice for your family, because that's not an easy choice either, right? What's the saying? Choose your hard. That's not an easy choice either. You're choosing to bounce to all of these events. You're choosing not to have that time with your significant other, which just means that you have to choose to be more intentional at other times if you're going to build that relationship. Yeah. So I think that, and that's too, like, that's actually, so my podcast is called Unjuggle the Struggle, because we are all either on some type of struggle bus or in front of a struggle bus. And that's the exact kind of stuff we're talking about. Like, we're all struggling with something. It's just a matter of what are the choices that we're making so that we get the desired results.
Yeah. That the choose your hard, I love it, because that's also one of my favorite quotes is, life is either hard now and easy later, or easy now and hard later. Choose your hard.
Hard.
Prime example, I love my husband's grandparents, but like, back in the day, they didn't work out. I'm not just saying them, but people in general. They didn't take care of their health. They didn't prioritize their fitness. They didn't, and it's easy for now fast food. So it's easy to do that, but their physical health is hard. They're always going to doctor's appointments. They have a hard time walking. They have a hard time getting around. You know what I mean? And it just kills me because most people take the easy way out in life, especially at the beginning, but your life is going to be harder in the long run. And I see a lot of, this is going to go back to what we were talking about before when it comes to finances and investments. Like, I do make good money as a real estate agent, but I'm not just recklessly spending my money and going and doing all of these things. And I don't have this big, beautiful house. I still have the house that we bought 7-8 years ago that we did renovate. We completely renovated it, but it's a smaller house. But hey, you know what? I refinanced on a 2.5% interest for 15 years, and I'm staying there until that shit is done. You know?
Amen.
Yeah, and my husband and I have talked, like, I want this amount of income, cash flow every month. And I am not, will we build someday? Absolutely. But I am very intentional that I'm not going to go and buy something that I absolutely love, because I have a goal that we either will be paying cash or a lot of it for our house, because I know when I build, it's going to be probably too expensive. So I have to do this. Or we have enough cash flow that's going to cover the cost of our mortgage, taxes, insurance, things like that. So instead of me taking the money that I make now and throwing it into a new home, because, you know, that's what we're supposed to do and that's what society says, no, I'm going to stay living in our 2-story old farmhouse that has 900 square feet on each level. Like, we do have 3 levels, but that's where I'm going to stay because our interest rates are low. I can put my money elsewhere. And it goes back to what you and I are talking about. Instead of me putting that lump sum of money into a new house, let me take that money and put it into these different investments to generate these cash flows. So then when I do want to retire, and I do this because I won't ever retire, but when I get to retire, I don't have to get up and work. So I look at so many people and they are like, the things that they have is beautiful and they're doing all these things and they go on to all these vacations, but in reality, they're broke. And like, but what are you doing now to set up your future?
Yes, yes. And yeah, I'm so glad that we brought it back to this too, because we were talking about, you're just like moving your money, making your money work for you. And hands down, if my husband and I, if we would not have made the financial decisions that we did a few years prior, there's no way in heck I could have walked away from my very cushy corporate job without a plan. So I did. It required us to cash out a 401k that was never meant to be touched. It required us to dip into brokerage accounts that we had set up, again, with no intention of pulling from, but because we had moved our money, because we had put it into the right places, because we had put it into several different places, we created these cushion pockets for ourselves to actually give me the space to where I didn't have to like immediately jump right into another corporate job just to pay the bills. And I talk with a lot of my clients right now where that is the story, right? You hate your job, so fine, you leave, you go to another one, but you just traded one crap shoot for another crap shoot because like financial pressure is real. We all have it. It almost doesn't even matter how much you have in the bank. All of us still have debt. All of us still have like bills that we have to pay. All of us still have wants and dreams. And guess what? Money helps facilitate that, which means you better get at least a basic level of financial IQ so that you can create options for yourself. And that's what I mean. So you were talking about some of the investments, and I asked you, hey, as a real estate agent, like with your background with that, like what does that look like from your investment portfolio? Are you dumping all of your extra dollars into buying rental properties because that's what they say you can make a gazillion dollars on? Or what does that kind of look like? What would your advice be on that?
So it's very interesting because I actually had this conversation with a client of mine who is looking to invest in real estate as well, because that's the whole hype. I love real estate. Do not get me wrong. That is where I have made all or most of my money. Now I'm to the point where I'm starting to find other ways to be able to utilize in this one, to be able to take out and use to fund real estate deals. 100%, I absolutely believe in real estate. hands down. And I will always continue to invest in real estate. What people think, though, is that real estate has a ton of cash flow. In all reality, it does not at this point in time. You do have to have enough equity to generate that cash flow. Now, the nice thing about real estate is you buy a property, somebody else is paying down the mortgage. But right now, interest rates are so high that finding a property that you can purchase that makes sense, if you don't have 30, 40, 50% to put down, you are not going to have enough room to be able to cover that rent. A lot of people, you can't buy a house and have a mortgage. Correct, but you can't be unrealistic. Like, you can't buy a house that's $300,000 and you think you're going to charge $3,500 in our area, at least. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You have to be realistic. But what I love about real estate, because we do have a couple other investments and then we've done flips and stuff like that. Nice. But my husband's, there's not enough money that comes in. I'm like, you're right. It actually sucks. Let's be honest. Like, the cash flow sucks. And we bought it when interest rates were low. Our interest rates are 3.2% on real estate commercial. And anybody who has bought anything is probably thinking, holy shit, that's insane. That's crazy low, because we locked it in at 20 years. Now, keep in mind, back when this was happening, we could have gotten it probably at 2.9%, but it would have been a 5-year ARM, where I don't know if most people, but I thought, no, let's go a little bit higher and lock it in for 20 years. Thank God I did that. Because if I would have done a 5-year ARM and you do that every 5 years, over 20 years, I would be SOL. I would be shit out a block.
Not have been a good investment.
It would not be working out. So a lot of people don't realize this. If you don't know what you're agreeing to when it comes to the loans, you could put yourself in a huge financial bind in 5, 10, 15 years. So one, that is huge. But two, because my husband doesn't understand the whole tax side of things. But what I love, because I'm considered a real estate professional in the IRS eyes, because I dedicate over 750 hours per year to real estate, I am considered a real estate professional, which has huge amount of tax benefits. Huge. Anyway, but what I love about the real estate is, okay, we have, let's say we'll take our 8-plex, for example. Obviously, the tenants are paying it down. And unfortunately, in our area, we don't have like property managers. I'm using like an online one, which has saved me so much time. But it was a lot of legwork to get them up and going, but I still have to be hands-on. And I'm to the point where my next investment, nope, I'm going to do something with somebody else where it's like a syndication and stuff like that. But anyway, what I love about real estate versus even like the data center that you and I spoke about, or REITs or stocks and bonds and things like that, the thing that I love most is, one, I understand real estate a little bit better, but it's not the cash flow that you get all of these benefits. So like I was explaining to somebody the other day, let's say for easy numbers, I bought the 8-plex several years ago for $400,000. And by the time I sell it, it's going to be worth, let's say 600 and it's going to be worth 800. Okay, $200,000 gain in 5 years. Fine, that's fine. But what people don't realize, one, and then you have depreciation, so you have capital gains, unless you're doing a 1031 exchange. What was amazing about it that people don't see on paper, because on paper it looks like we're only making $200,000 over 5, 6, 7 years, however long we held on to it. Yeah. But through taxes, it has saved me probably more than $200,000 in the last 5, 6 years, because I was able to do what's called a cost segregation. And you can rapidly depreciate without actually having to pay to do a cost segregation. But grand scheme of things, what I did is I paid somebody, it's like an engineer, or I don't remember what they were, like $4,500 to go into my 8-plex and rapidly depreciate the personal property, because personal property can be depreciated over 5 years. You can also depreciate the actual property itself. You can't depreciate land, so you can never fully depreciate land at all, but the property itself can be depreciated over 27 and a half years. So what I did is I did a cost segregation where I basically took the 27 and a half years of depreciation, I rapidly combined it into 2 to 5 years, meaning that I don't have to hold on to it for 27 and a half years to get all of the tax benefits. I only have to own it for 3, 4, 5 years, get all of that. Now, the downfall of that is after those 5 years, there's nothing left to depreciate. So there's no real tax benefits for me to hold on to that property. But the beauty of real estate is I'm going to do a 1031 exchange into this different real estate. It has to be equal or greater value. So let's say I sell mine for $800,000. I buy something else for $800,000 or more. Guess what? That depreciation starts all over again. All over again. So I'm going to rapidly depreciate this next asset over the next 3 to 5 years, get those huge tax benefits while somebody else is paying it down. I go to sell it in 5 years, I'll roll it over and do it again. You know what I mean? So that's the side of things that a lot of people don't realize are the huge benefits of real estate. Now, it depends on how you are classified and seen in the eyes of the IRS. You can still depreciate the assets, don't get me wrong, huge benefits still, but not as much as somebody who's a real estate professional. So, and I know Trump passed a new legislative law where I don't know enough about it, but he did it back in 2016. Huge huge savings when it comes to real estate and investments and stuff like that. But that's the beauty of real estate. It is the beauty of real estate. People don't see, it's not just the cash flow. It is not. Maybe when you get to the retirement age, that's what you want. But right now, I care more about the tax savings than I do about the cash flow. Because the cash flow ain't getting me anywhere.
I just love it.
That 1 year, I was able to depreciate or take a loss of $175,000, which saved me from paying in $60,000. 1 year. 1 year. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Yeah. That's what people don't understand. Like, I got goosebumps because, like, I love things like this. And then in talking earlier, like we were discussing, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can invest my money because I have some funds that I need to do something with. Because if you're not getting a 5, 6, 7% return on your money, you are actually losing money. They say 2 to 3. Nah, inflation's real.
Yes, inflation's real. Yeah.
You're not getting like 5, 6, 7 or more
like
percent
7
on your
plus.
money. So like my money sitting in the bank right now, I am rapidly losing income.
Yes.
Because it's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there. Like,
yeah,
sitting money's dead money. Like,
it is. It is. And could I find another real estate property to invest in? Yes, but I'm to the point where I don't want to manage them myself. I'm done with that. So
and two, it is about diversifying. Like, you have to diversify your wealth engine is going to be, or should, like, my understanding, I'm not a financial professional here. However, what I've set up for myself and my family that seems to be working really is that the wealth engine is comprised of several different parts. It's not all a motor. It's not all an air vent. It's not all, it has to have the several different parts in order for it to actually generate the kind of wealth that we all talk about.
Right. And it's always about asking questions because there's always so much more out there. And I'll give you an example. So I invested into a data center it's the equipment essentially, but I don't get the tax benefits of the depreciation on the property. Yes, it's property and I'll get maybe a little bit, but I'm not going to get that. This is more about the cash flow. And again, like I told you before, I like to put my money where my mouth is, or my mouth where whatever it is.
Yes.
And whatever. But so then I can share that. And if I lose that money, that sucks. But the other thing, so my parents were like, hey, Shae, can you tell me more about this? And they don't have that lump sum just sitting there. So what they're doing is they converted their IRA to like a SEP IRA. So then they took that money, rolled it into the data center, generating the 48% return. Now they can't collect that money because then they'll pay those penalty fees. But once all the monthly distributions that they get back, and they're going to put right back into their IRA. So with their IRA generating 10%, 12%, great, that sounds good, but that ain't going to make you rich, especially at the age that they are at. So if they could take that money, put it into this data center, they're going to get 48% return. When it goes back into this fund, they'll distribute it back to their IRA. So that money will continue to generate the 10, 12% interest. So now they're multiplying their interest. It's not just all their money is in the IRA, they're getting 10, 12%. No. But it's interesting because anybody that they talk to, their financial planner and everything, they're telling, nope, you can't do that. Nope, you can't do that. And I'm like, no, Mom, I'll jump on the call.
Nope, they don't know. It's like playing by the rules, or it's not. Here's the thing: it's not that you're not playing by the rules in that example that you said. That's not what it is. It's just that so very few are actually educated on the rules of the game of money. That's what it is.
And it's not to their fault necessarily,
No.
like the financial planner, because you don't know what you don't know. Ignorance is not bliss. I hate the saying ignorance is bliss. That is complete bullshit. Do not be ignorant about anything. Ask questions and ask again. Ask somebody different. I mean, like, you have to ask further questions. So kind of going back to what you and I were talking about before, about the overfunded life insurance policy. So if
Oh, yeah,
anybody's
yeah.
interested in all of these things that I'm talking about, please reach out to me directly. But this other situation, it's an overfunded life insurance policy. I had done this about a year and a half ago. I lost 5,000, but in my mind, I actually didn't lose that much because I thought I was going to lose more than that. But anyway, I lost because I invested into this overfunded life insurance policy. And after talking to my CPA and after talking to my financial advisor, they both advised against it. That doesn't make sense. I don't know why you would do that. You need to start putting more money into your Roth IRA and doing this and doing that.
Yep.
And I don't think that they were wrong, and they weren't necessarily steering me in the wrong direction. They were telling me what they felt was what they knew.
Yes.
And now having this conversation again with this individual after I cashed out, now two totally different people. I think there was a reason I stepped away from those other people. They weren't as helpful as this other person that I came across, all those things. But I think I realized like they were just not educated enough on what my intentions were with it. And I didn't have a good enough understanding to be able to explain it. Now I have a better understanding that I can explain it to them. I can explain it to you. I can explain it to anybody listening to this podcast on what that looks like. It's the overfunded life insurance policy. It's simple interest of 5% when you're pulling it out. You take that money, roll it into something else that's maybe generating you 48% return, while the money that's still not there but is there in that overfunded life insurance is compounding 5% interest. So it is a lot of moving parts. It's definitely not the traditional way. It is definitely more complicated. I'm sure I give my CPA anxiety. But like I am constantly looking for ways to make my money work for me.
Yes.
I don't want to keep doing real estate I don't want to manage deals. I don't want
You have
I don't
to.
want to manage toilets. I don't want to manage tenants. I
Yeah.
sent an eviction notice this month because I'm done with one of the tenants. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I got it paid. I got rent paid." "Oh, okay, good. That's great."
That's
I'll
great.
just
That's great.
go to
I
my
still want to
laptop.
play.
Yeah,
I
I'm
still
gonna
want to.
yeah, I'm just gonna keep a copy of this because I know I'm gonna send it to you next month again too. Because I'm done with this shit. I'm done with playing nice. He had 6 months of free rent through the state, and the first time he was supposed to make rent, he couldn't make it. Couldn't make it for. I was just done. So that's what you have
Yep.
to do with real estate.
And
So
that's the other side of the real estate. But
that's
also
the
too,
downside.
Shay, like that comes back to like you knowing what you're willing to tolerate, what you're willing to not tolerate, what lights you up. Like you can obviously tell that this investment stuff, like this lights you up. So it's like leaning into those nudges. And instead of going, yeah, one day I'd like to learn more about investing in a data, like, no, as you're just like, hey, I'm interested. And then you actually do. So you get curious, you go, holy cow, I'm interested in this. And then you actually take the action. You surrender into putting the time into it. You surrender into that nudge of, hey, I want to try this. And you play. You play. That's what you're doing. You're playing the game of money. You're playing the game of life. You're playing the game of passion. You're playing the game of mom. Like you're playing. That's what we're doing.
Right. And we have to seek those opportunities when they arise because so many times we're like, God is just like punching us in the face and we're like, nope, that's not for us. Oh, no, like you said, like God, like you were in that box. You're like, nope, not for me. No, thank you. It took you a year and a half. I do think everything happens for a reason. I think that the timing probably wasn't right back then, but I think
Agreed.
we get hit in the face so many times that you're finally, okay, now I'm listening, God. All right, what do you got for me? You know what I mean? And same with
Yeah.
that overfunded life insurance policy. But like one of my goals, I have it here, I've showed it before many times, is to retire my parents at $10,000 a month by the time they're 65. And this is not me just giving them money. Because they will never let me take money and just give it to them. So
No.
I don't know how I'm going to get here. To be honest, I have no idea. I have another goal here. I don't know how I'm going to get to this one either. But if I have these goals in front of me on a constant basis, I'm like, holy shit.
You're going to work
I
towards
didn't
them.
really, like I talked to my mom about this data fund, and then it was like they came back to me because I don't want to be like, hey, you should cash out your IRA and roll it into here. No, it has to be their idea. Okay,
100%.
so here's where we're at. That's 7 years of them receiving $4,166 per month. I'm halfway there, but that's also not for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? So then I have to help them through, okay, you're getting this money.
Next one.
So once you get that extra 100,000, 200,000, we're going to roll it into something else to keep that money going. You know what I mean? So like you constantly, it's okay to not know, but it's not okay to not get up every single day and figure it out.
Try.
And
Just try. Play.
feeling. Like this
Yeah.
life insurance stuff, I can't tell you how many people, how many times, how many trainings, And it's not my full-time job. Okay, get that. Like this is not, but how many times I've talked to people about it, how many times I've sat through trainings to try to understand it. And I feel like the dumbest person. Like I don't know how somebody could sit through the amount of hours to try to understand this shit and still not be able to. Like it
You're
is
not giving
the
yourself nearly
wildest
enough
thing.
credit.
What's
Okay,
that?
but that, yes, you're not giving yourself enough credit, but then that is also why so few people are educated, quote unquote, enough about it to actually move their money where their mouth is. So it does. And so I hope for anybody like listening right now, like that they're hearing this theme of you've got to show up. Like same, I had to show up. I had to ask myself those questions. You have to show up and get educated on these things that you want for your life. Like if there's a nudge that you're feeling like you want to pursue something, first off, that nudge was there. So get curious and show up with your, yes, I'm going to sit through this course today. Yes, I'm going to become a better communicator. Yes, I'm going to set these boundaries. Yes, I'm going to prioritize family time over sports. Like whatever it is, like that nudge, it asks us to show up with our yes.
Yeah, and be okay with struggling through that. Now, keep in mind, like, this all didn't click for me. Like, I understood it, but this didn't click for me until like last week, literally. And this is something that I had been dabbling in and trying to learn for 3 years. So be okay with those struggles, and it's okay to not understand it at first. But it's not okay to keep trying, especially when God's, oh, here's this person, and then they reach out to you, and then you end up interviewing their employee on one of your podcasts, and then somebody else encouraged. Then there's all these signs. I'm like, all right, now I got to learn more.
Fine. Fine.
My passion is understanding this and being able to share it with people too. Like, I think that's what gets me so excited is like, you don't have to just work that job, that 9-to-5 job. Like there are, and even if you are and you make great money, fine. But there are so many other ways that you can be putting your money and reinvesting that to be able to generate that legacy or that wealth for you in your future. So you don't have to grind. Because the reason I really start a lot of this is like my parents work hard. You work hard. 100% agree. But they are also getting to the point, my dad went through cancer treatments. Like I don't want to see them have to get up and work and worry about money when their main priority and their main focus needs to be my dad and his health. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, their health and like being there for the grandbabies and yeah.
So that's where I'm at in life. Like I don't want people to have to be working when you have cancer and you're going through these treatments. Like my dad was still a farmer. Fortunately, my brother works with him and his brothers do too. But he spent more time on that couch for the last year and a half, and I hated seeing that. But he still had to force himself to get up and go work. Now, I think that's good for him because you want to get out of the house. You want to do those things. You don't want to just lay there.
Move your body.
I don't want to see him have to struggle and go to work just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Or my mom has to work more hours to cover, just things like that.
I think you don't want it for them and because you don't want it for you either.
No.
Yeah.
I want to love life. I want to enjoy life. I don't want to have to be even 45, 50, 55, and I have to go to work. Otherwise, I won't be able to make ends meet. Or if my kid is sick, I don't want to have to go to work just to pay the bills. I want to be able to be home with my kids.
Exactly.
So that's where but yeah, I mean, we probably went a completely different rabbit hole, but I absolutely love it. But Brittany, tell me or tell the audience a little bit about what it is that you do, how you can help others, and where you see your business and future going.
I love it. I've loved just the connecting, like the conversation, and that it just, the things that it's, what I found even on my own podcast is like the things that I need most, like the conversations that I end up having tend to be the things that I needed the most. And then several months later, I'll get the text, I'll get the message, I'll get the comment that's like, oh my gosh, this was exactly what I needed. We're never the only ones who needed this conversation. So I'm proud of both of us for being the bold women that we are, showing up, recording a conversation that folks absolutely should hear. So I love it. I love you, all the things. As far as my business goes, so like I said, I've got the podcast, Unjuggle the Struggle. I show up there every single week, just like working through things like self-doubt, working through like confidence, working through like choosing courage, like all of the life stuff that we're dealing with. I also too, so I've got an e-course in my signature coaching out there. It's the Purpose Driven Business Launchpad. So check out my website. There's even a quiz there that if you're like, oh man, I don't know if I should start a business or if I'm really just unhappy with my job. Guess what? I've got a 7-question quiz that'll help you figure out, like, are you in between? Do you want to jump? Do you not want to jump? What do you really just need here? And then I'm always open to just having conversations. So Brittney at BrittneyTollinchi.com.
I butchered that at the beginning, but got that figured out right after. See, we all make mistakes on a daily basis.
We're good.
So yesterday, I made a mistake. My daughter was with me and she goes, see, Mom, you learn something new every day. I'm like, you're right. She goes, even when you're not in school is what she said. She goes, even when you're not in school. Especially when you're not in school. But yes, you're learning something new every day. So to those who are listening, reach out to Brittney. Also, I want to ask, give us a 5-star review. Go follow Brittney. Listen to her podcast. I'm super excited because I love the name of it. That's fantastic. Give her a 5-star review. Share it with people that you feel may benefit from this, gain some knowledge, gain some education, or just want to have a good listen and admire somebody else and hopefully take your life to another level as well. Because it's not always easy, but I can promise you that it is worth it. Brittney, thank you so much for being here. Oh, I almost forgot. What is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody listening today who's thinking about starting, or maybe to your younger self or somebody, a year and a half ago?
Ooh, easy. Get curious.
Yeah.
2 words. Get curious. Get curious about yourself. Get curious about your passions. Get curious about your partner. Get curious about your kids. Oh my God, the things I learn when I just get intentionally curious about my kids. Like, just get curious.
I love that. I love that. So awesome. Thank you so much, Brittney. And I hope you guys all enjoy this wonderful podcast, and we will definitely be staying in touch.
Whoop, whoop. Bye.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shea J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.